So my name is Mr. Hunt. I'm a year 3-4 teacher. I've been teaching in this wonderful school, Tottington Primary School, for the past 7 years. I teach a mixed year 3-4 class in here actually. Half of my class are year 3, half of my class are year 4. So I got the ViewSonic boards, you can probably see behind me. Gosh, I've had them for about 6 months, and initially when I got I've not used the ViewSonic software before until I got the board. Once I got the board, I just played around with the software to get used to it, because I feel that the best way to get to know and understand software and websites is just to play, just kind of like we do with the children when we say to children, we learn through play, similar to teachers. So, and what I like about the software is you've got your tools, your basic tools along the bottom. So the things you would usually start off with kind of like level 1. So you'd use these tools day to day, your highlighter tool, your pen tool. And then because it's the way it's layered, then when you get used to your basic tools and do the day-to-day tools, you can then take learning a bit further. You can open the magic box and do something different and really be a bit more creative. You can, I love the AI tool, which has been updated on the software recently. I've been using that recently. So I just like the way it's layered this way, so everyone can use level 1. And once you get used to level 1, like the foundations, you can then build upon and use different tools. And then as well, I like the children to come up, so quite often I'll go to the kids, right, have a play with the boards, look at this tool, I used it like this today. Why don't you have a play and you tell me how you would like to use this within lessons and how do you think it would help your learning?
641, perfect. Now keep that number there, keep that number, so 641. Keep that number. Using the same digits, what is the smallest number you can create using those digits? Go. What is the smallest number that you can create? Arib, do you want to come and write the smallest number that you can create? Underneath here, just right underneath here. And use the pen.
My name's Mrs. Chapman and I work in Mr. Hunt's class a day and a half a week when he's out and about doing all his other things. I like all the different features on it. I particularly like the annotation tool where you can annotate all the different websites or really whatever you're using. I also like how you can highlight things on it to show the children things more clearly.
And the reason why we have 2 is because of the needs of the children in my class. So with having 2 screens, we can quite often split off into separate groups. So instead of going from our classroom to find another room to then carry on the learning, because I've got a mixed year 3-4 class, we can do that in class. So we'll have the screen that shows or displays something here, and then we can run a separate lesson, interactive lesson, or using the software or having something displayed on the other screen, meaning that I've got basically 2 classrooms in the same room without having to leave and come back. Sometimes when my children sat over at this end of the classroom, they can't see the board depending on where they're sat, and it's really impacted their learning. So we had an idea to sort of, a bit like like a round theatre in when you watch Shakespeare, but everyone can see what the performance is. The same as a teacher, everyone can see the screen and the lessons that's happening wherever you sat in the classroom, because we've got a board here and a board here. So it's a really good layout, and it really helps children to access learning because they can access the screen and see exactly what's being taught. Okay, so today I use the magnifying tool in class. So what that means is when we have like a picture or something I want the children to really look at and really focus on, I can use, by drag and drop, use a magnifying tool from the magic box. I just drag it across, use a magnifying tool, and it really helps children focus on specific parts. If I really want them to look at this part of the picture, we can zoom right in. They can maybe notice something that they maybe hadn't noticed before.
There's lots going on in this picture, but I want to focus your brains onto certain things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brain focus tool. I'm going to focus on here. Now, I don't want you to look at anything else actually. I want you to focus on here. Now, this character here. If you could write one word or a sentence about this character, what you think about this is reading comprehension, it's using body language like you said, Lottie. Write down a word or a short sentence about what this character is feeling. Is this a bad guy, a good guy? How do you know?
With the spotlight tool, it's very similar to the magnifying tool when I want them to focus on something, but sometimes you don't want to necessarily reveal the whole image or reveal what you want them to look at. You want to reveal little specific parts. So it's really good for those lessons where you've got a really interesting image and you just want to show specific points and get the children to predict what the rest of the picture might be. Or as well, it's really good to focus on a particular area. So you want to look at this character's face. It's what we did today. We really focused on the character's face and emotions, and we talked about how, how we can predict, or using reading comprehension skills, how that character might be feeling or what type of character it is.
Roll the dice. Jules, let's go. Roll the dice, Jules. Okay, biggest number you can write without go. Biggest number with using those digits. What's the biggest number Think about your hundreds. Think about placing your tens and your ones. Don't show me just yet.
So today I also use the dice tool in class now. That's just to make it a bit more interactive, a bit more fun. The reason why is we've recently just finished place value in school. And before we move on to our next subject, which is column addition, we kind of review what we've done already. And the way I did this was by using the dice tool. So instead of saying, right, I'm going to give you the number 5, 6, and 8, what's the biggest number you can create with that number? They'll write it down, they'll write it on the whiteboards, and they'll sort of be semi-engaged and they'll go along with the lesson. But by just using that dice tool, it kind of brings learning alive. So they'll come up, I'll press it, and it'll shake a dice, and we'll get a random 3 digits, and that we can then use to manipulate and use during the lesson. And quite often as well as a teacher, you know, it's really important to get the children up to interact with the board. One, because they then become part of the lesson, that they sometimes lead learning. And as a teacher as well, it means you can have a quick coffee in the corner while your children are sort of taking lead in some of the lessons. You know, it's really interesting how quick children get the hang of certain software. In fact, I think it was a few weeks ago, one of the children showed me, Mr. Hunt, you know, if you press this and do this, you can do this. And it's just that, again, it's just trying things out. And as well, as a teacher, if you try these tools, and how could you use some of these tools within your teaching? And maybe sometimes it won't go perfectly well, or you'll get, we could use it this way. The children see that it's okay to, try something new and make those mistakes, but then learn from them. But then when the children come up, when they're using the software, when they're using the board, if they make a mistake or they do something wrong or they do something that didn't quite work well, you can talk about it as like that's how we learn from mistakes. And also, children learn best from just having a play, just having a go. And that's what I've always found in class. So this week, to plan, I would start with what's the objective. So the objective this week was place value. So I needed to make sure the children understand the value of a 1 or 100 or 1,000, right? Okay, so the next thing, what tools have I got enabled to do that? So I've got my viewboard software. So how can I display that? Well, one of the good tools is to create a random 3 or 4 digit number, the dice tool. So that's how I use that to really reinforce the learning that's happened the past few weeks. So we're ready to sort of make sure that knowledge sticks before we go on to the next part of whatever we're doing in maths, which next week is column addition. So when I create my OLFs, I do it on my PC screen. I tend to do it at home actually, because my logins it's synced at school. So when I come into school, everything I do at home, it's synced at school. So I tend to create my lessons at home, come into school, log on, my lessons are already there already, and whatever's on my PC screen, my main screen over there, it's on my main screen here, and it's mirrored to both screens as well. The OLF that I created today, the place value one, I started off with the objective, which was to really cement that place value knowledge. Started off with the place value chart that we put on there first, and then I put some nice images at the side, and then instead of giving the children a 3-digit number, I used the dice tool to then randomly generate a number, because when the children are part of it and the children were coming up as well as me pressing the screen to make the dice roll, they feel more part of the lesson, and then they've created that number, that random 3-digit number or 4-digit number, and then they're right on the whiteboards, they're answering the questions and they're enjoying the lesson. And for me, what's really nice with something like that brings the learning alive is the children will go home and the mums or dads or whoever looks after them will say, what have we done today? Oh, we've played with some dice and some numbers. But really for me as a teacher, I check their place value knowledge. I was able to check their understanding before I move on to the next lesson, which I'm doing next week. I was able to see who's engaged. I was able to see which questions, some common misconceptions were happening. I was getting all this, but for the children, they were having a bit of fun with a nice big screen and nice dice rolling around and coming up and getting involved in the lesson.
Yep.
4 is 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then 6 and 1 is 7.
Perfect. Did we get 787?
Yeah.
So I use technology in my classroom to really enhance the teaching and learning that goes on. So everything I use has to have a purpose. I don't use it just for its sake. So whether it's a website, a piece of software, an element of that software, as long as it's bringing the best out of me and the teacher and the children, then I'll use it. And I'm always looking at new ideas and new software and what's out there to really help children move along their learning.